Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NLC. We're going to be going on to our first game of the day, Galaxy Racer versus KOVA. And Libera, these two teams, it looks like a pretty one-sided match, but from what we saw yesterday, that doesn't really mean anything around these parts anymore.
Yeah, so obviously I was doing some of my research, and I like to dig into some of the numbers, and then I was promptly told numbers don't matter, don't listen to them. Still, in this case, numbers are very GXR favored. They have a 100% win rate on red side. KOVA's got a 0% win rate on blue side. If that's going to be a thing about side choice, well, you can pretty much just send that one to bed already. But as we said, some of these lower teams start just like boiling up through the cracks and start getting themselves some denting wins at the top of the table, and it would be very entertaining to see.
We are moving into picks and bans pretty rapidly for this one. Jamada, Jason Viega already taken off the table. Are we expecting more of the same for what we saw yesterday?
Yeah, I think at the moment we sort of see the same case study of about 10 to maybe 12 champions that get banned out every single game, and some, sort of lower down, maybe like three or four that are like pretty much permabanned. Nocturne being one of them. Varus shows up a lot, but sort of in that sort of 10 champ category. But typically, the first picks, you just got to wait and see exactly what is removed, just because it tends to be this really crazy trade of about 4 to 5 insanely broken champions in the first 2 rotations. Xin Zhao, obviously also another one that's typically picked up. But with these champions removed away, you're normally looking at Diana first picks. You're normally looking at even sometimes some teams do like to pick up the Karma. I feel like KOVA isn't necessarily a team that would do that, but Diana definitely so for Outlandish.
And the interesting thing for me with GXR is that they ban away the Xin Zhao on the red side, which means that they haven't got themselves one of these cultivated Xin Zhao answers, right? We're seeing people trying to play the Trundle into it and a couple of other things where you say, if you're going to have one of these circular temporary front lines, we can do better at that. They haven't really got an answer to it. They do have that Ezreal Karma R1, R2. They're very stable, has flexibility too.
It puts up the set to be the response from KOVA. We were talking about this one a lot yesterday. We saw the set Diana combination from Resolve, which was very spooky, but we're going to see the Dr. Mundo, which Kerberos played successfully yesterday, didn't get the win, but was definitely a force to be reckoned with in that top lane.
Yeah, because here's the thing for me. When you see Karma and Ezreal, typically it means the rest of the composition isn't going to have a crazy amount of DPS, because typically DPS roles come out from the AD carry role, and Karma also more utility at the moment than crazy burst or anything like that. And Mundo loves magic, soaking up magic damage in particular, just because obviously he wants to itemize and spirit visage a lot of the times. Lulu on top of that, kind of surprised we didn't see set locked in just for the sake of set being sort of there, but maybe you don't want to give up the entire top side. But Galaxy Racer, pretty stable draft right now if they lock in that least in. I've always been pretty happy about the red side Karma Ezreal, just because it typically leaves your draft as a pretty blank canvas, and it's like Nightmare said, a very versatile draft.
And actually, well, if you're going to hopscotch shuffle one of my points, I'll do the same off of one of yours, because you were talking about, okay, now you've locked in the Mundo, what happens with this Karma, right? I think it has to be in that support role now, because you are not going to have enough damage if you put this Karma into mid, or especially into the Mundo if they ended up putting that up into one of the solo lanes too. So that means that you have locked in that bot lane for real now, and actually that flexibility, which is such a hallmark of this meta, isn't so apparent in this draft. Lee Sin does add that in a little bit more, but already one of the very first answers that GXR had on the table has been muted a bit.
Yeah, we've got the Kog'Maw being banned away. We could well see something like the Kai'Sa being taken off the table as well to avoid that being picked into Ezreal. Gnar going to be removed, and just taking away a couple of those ranged options that might cause Mundo some problems in the top lane.
Yeah, just sort of trying to remove away anything that can be a bit of an issue, like you say. But at the moment, as far as I'm aware, Mundo doesn't have like loads of crazy bad matchups. I think Galaxy Race is doing the right thing, removing away the Jinx, just another hyper carry that can play into it. Obviously, like you said, Will, does leave up something like the Kai'Sa if they want to dip into that, which, to be fair, at the moment, thematically for KOVA wouldn't be a terrible pick. And actually going to remove away the Syndra. So just removing away something they're scared of Tibor playing, especially because Jackie actually has played this Lee Sin a couple of times. It does set up for that really strong sort of 2v2 mid jungle of old. Aatrox actually is a matchup that could be pretty good into Mundo in theory. So
it's one thing that we were talking about actually in the green room, because we talked about Mundo before it was locked in. So hey, we've done our prep for all that one. Is that actually kind of reminds me a little bit of how Pike Top was played in the past into stuff like your Renekton's or your Jaces, because they would chunk you out super hard and you just regen. You just sit behind turret, and all of that work they do in extended trades means nothing. Aatrox is better at going for the straight up all-ins, just popping the ultimate, saying stand, fight, let's have a stat check. And if you get ahead in that matchup now, maybe you can start thinking about bullying this Mundo around early game, start pushing forward for your first turrets, for your first dragons and everything. Just hem cover in early.
Lucian being picked up, trying to fix that damage portfolio for KOVA. Of course, with Lulu, Mundo, and Diana, if they're all on the top side, it's not going to be that much AD. We could well see this Lulu going into that support role, though, and with the Aphelios being locked in, that is exactly where it's going to be, unless they're going to try something exceptionally interesting.
Yeah, I don't mind the Aphelios here. Honestly, there's not a crazy amount of backline access straight up from Galaxy Racer. It's relatively sort of situational. So Galaxy Racer at the moment, unless they're approaching from flanks, which seems relatively unlikely, it's going to be kind of hard to get onto this Aphelios, especially when they've got a Lulu. So I think maybe someone like Orianna has to come out to try and supplement, or another mage. Yeah, try and just zone control in some of these team fights, because otherwise you would definitely been struggling to lock down double AD carries of a Lulu. So I don't mind this coming out of Galaxy Racer. I feel like Orianna, it's kind of a rougher matchup into Lucian, so I understand the Victor pick in this circumstance as well.
And the other thing you can do with the Victor is you can actually Q evolve first into Lucian, particularly into that matchup, because you get the extra shield, you can trade much harder. Lucian on the other side, we've seen stuff like Cyrilda's Grudge second, and even going to like stuff like Eclipse to just be like, I hit you with one ability, and you're dead, because the culling rips you apart. So this mid lane matchup, I want to see what's happening with the build, see if either of these guys have got any new tech coming out. Victor, though, does help answer the Aphelios.
I don't like Victor. Never have, never will. In mobile, gets beat up. It's a sad. T-Ball, I was going to say I expect better.
That's your play-by-play analysis right there.
I mean, last season I put him in Flyguard jail for his picks in mid lane, but a couple of guys who aren't in jail right now. We've got Ox and Hiprain standing by to take us through this and all of our games this evening. Take it away, lads.
Thank you very much, Viper.
I don't appreciate that assumption, though.
Pardon?
Right, Jake, he assumed we're not in jail. For all he knows, I could be casting from jail. I have this backdrop behind me. You do as well. He doesn't know that.
We're just back to back inside a cell right now.
Exactly.
We're not going to tell you what we did. We stole some plums, and now we're in jail for that.
No, we picked triple AP topside, which KOVA was dangerously close to doing, and I would have put them in jail if they did. You know, I don't like the fact that they picked the Lulu, Diana, and Mundo, because it meant they couldn't flex the Lulu, but it kind of forced it. And I feel like that's this thing we see with these flex picks where you pick a champion and it's like, oh, look how great Lulu is. She flexes into all these different lanes. And then it's like, you've made it painfully obvious you're not flexing it. It's not a flex if the enemy team knows exactly where it's going, like almost as soon as you pick it. So I wanted to bring my criticism in on that. Yeah, you continue.
I saw you in the text. I saw you coiling over a little bit, mate, to be honest. So, you know, that's Orcs' 2 cents on it, but I want to get your thoughts on the actual comps now they're drafted and not the drafting phase itself. What are you liking here? What do you think KOVA and Galaxy Racer are looking to do in this game?
So, I mean, I feel like Galaxy Racer's come out pretty solid. Their bot lane is going to be really, really advantageous. Monk and Wendell can just harass with the Ezreal Karma. Mid lane, typically it's a little bit tricky playing into Lucian because he contests Prior really hard, but you have Victor who's also pretty good at contesting priority. You have a Lee Sin who's got some early skirmishing power compared to the Diana. I feel like overall Galaxy Racer, you know, they're going to have priority bot lane, they're going to have priority top lane, mid lane might be a bit behind, but it's contestable. And then you have a stronger early jungler. So if Galaxy Racer find the momentum, they should be in a really good spot. And KOVA, you know, they have these strong scaling elements, but I'm still concerned. If the execution is good when we get to team fights, great. But, you know, we'll have to see how that pans out. Range is definitely an issue for this team composition. It always is up against Ezreal. Like, you know, for Lucian and Aphelios, you want a team to engage into so you can kite back. I don't think Galaxy Racer are going to do that.
Well, we're on to the Rift for our first game of day 2 here at week 6. And, you know, Galaxy Racer have been a team that have impressed us. They've been a team that has impressed. They were new to the league, coming in from the Telia Masters, and the expectations weren't overly high. They're now 7-4 in Group B. They're in a pretty good spot right now. You know, they're not that far behind Fnatic Rising. And they've had a really, really good split. KOVA, on the other hand, 2-9 right now. They are dangerously close to that relegation area. In fact, they are at the bottom of their group. So at the moment, they're trying to fight to avoid relegation and not really thinking too much about the playoffs. Galaxy Racer potentially playing for a playoff spot at the moment as we enter into the second half of the season. So, you know, it's a lot to play for the newbies on the block, and they've had a really, really good start to the season so far. And Tatooine has the best Mundo skin. Just get out there, wait for the walk. It's amazing. Look at that walk.
I mean, it is good, but I you know, what was the skin Cave had yesterday?
Mundo yesterday. Yeah, Mundo.
That one was pretty good. But I do agree, Corporate Mundo is just classic.
Oh, just look at the walk from the phone. He's so good.
So much swagger.
Oh, man. This is why Kerberos lost on it yesterday. Didn't play the right skin.
Yep. Can't argue with it. So, in the bot lane, you know, what Monk and Wendell want to do is just from level 1, just be harassing. Without range, the enemy lane. And you can sort of form this position where Monk's sort of below the minion wave, Wendell's above. It's almost like a triangle, and you just fire skill shots from different angles. And for Davison, he doesn't really have anywhere he can position. It's very difficult for him to avoid these.
Oh, instantly in for the flashes, but double flashes come out from the side of Galaxy Racer, and ultimately not going to find the kill as Tiara will block the empowered Inspire. Or Mantra, I can't remember which one it is now.
Mantra.
Oh, it's Inspire the ultimate, isn't it?
Mantra's the R.
Yeah, Mantra's the R. An inner flame.
Isn't cute inner flame, yeah.
Inner flame.
Yeah.
And what is Inspire? Is that her shield?
The shield.
Yes.
It's not very inspiring to fire a massive blast at someone.
I'm
not sure Davison feels inspired right now by Wendell. Brutalized, maybe. Punished.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And this is kind of what you expect from this bot lane. This is why I had concerns about that Lulu pickup early, because I knew it was going bot lane. KOVA knew it was going bot lane. It's very clear that Galaxy Racer kind of knew it was going bot lane. But even then, like, KOVA kind of picked this Lulu into the Ezreal Karma. And this is a lane that's really problematic for them because they just get harassed from a distance. Lulu doesn't have engage tools. She can't trade with this enemy bot lane because they just outrange her, and it makes things very awkward. And right now, they're just being harassed to death.
This is pretty much every time you see this. Is the Guardian's now being popped by Tiara, and that might be a good opportunity for Jakey to come in. He has to be a little bit careful of the polymorph, but he's going to find himself the Lulu, and Tiara going very, very low. It's only going to take a little bit more hit for Jakey to find first blood, and he's able to find it as Monk gets a bunch of damage off into Davidson, misses out on the Sonic Strike, and
this is fine. They have all the time in the world. They don't. There's no pressure. No one's on this side of the map. They can just push the wave in and wait. This is easy pickings.
This is tragic. They do miss out on the Inner Flame, but that's going to be Wendell securing the kill. There it is.
So doomed. It's honestly so doomed. I feel kind of bad for KOVA's bot lane. They've been sort of set up to fail on Davidson's debut, but ultimately Galaxy Racer just heavily punishing. Yeah, the bot lane gave them that massive advantage. Jakey passed down, and I love the decision to look for the dive in that scenario. It really sets this Aphelios behind.
And you need the Aphelios, you know, not get completely smacked around in laning phase. Sure, he's not a champion who, you know, is always going to win the lane, but, you know, he doesn't want to be this far behind to someone like an Ezreal who will be spiking very hard on his first and second items.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, you need an extra item as an Aphelios to really hit your spike. That threat spike is the big one. Ezreal's popping off in 2. And again, like, just the way this game will play out, it's very difficult for Aphelios to do Aphelios things in this one. You know, he's actually okay in the right scenario in this meta because, you know, when there's a ton of melee skirmishers, he can just shred them when they get up close as long as he can stay alive. This game isn't really one of them. And if Galaxy Racer play it correctly, they should be comfortable to close this one out in the mid game. But again, it's still early days. This bot lane definitely in a rough spot. And now Monk has come back with a Sheen. So even more hit coming in.
I've got that tier as well, so I'll be stacking that one up as Wendell is just going to take away this ward and just kind of give a bit of freedom to his jungler to potentially move around as Jakey is in the area, probably just looking to pick up the crab, but he's about.
It's just applying that pressure. They're stacking up a pretty big wave here. And what I'd actually like to see is a potential dive on this wave. You know, they've already got this division set up mid. Tibor isn't necessarily going to have priority to move, but Jakey could go mid, he could help push mid out, then they can move down, and either KOVA bot lane has to back away, or they simply end up going down in that scenario, puts them in a really, really uncomfortable position. And if they miss this next wave, bot lane is just over.
Yeah. No, but I actually think you are right. It looks like they're not going to go for the divers. Jakey wants to secure the dragon. But he's not taking too much damage from it, especially when he's got Wendell there with the Inspire to shield him up. So may see after this dragon's been secured, then move over. But it looks like the wave's actually been trimmed down. The Infernum doing enough job from Davison just to trim through the wave. It's not really a diveable wave anymore.
Yeah, so able to have a bit of a reprieve there. T-Ball not really free from mid to move down with them. And I think Galaxy Racer not wanting to go too aggressive. They still deny a lot of farm, but because the wave was pushing, it's not nearly as much as it could have been. And, you know, they catch that wave. So stabilizing for now, but still over bot lane in a rough spot. And the thing is, it's not like Outlandish can really do much on the top side of the map. Kakan's kind of just chilling, not pushing out too far with the wave in front of his tower. And the die potential off the Diana and the Mundo isn't really too high before level 6. They just don't really have the damage to kill this Aatrox.
Yeah, he's got the World Ender as well, so gets himself a bit more sustain available to him thanks to the back of that one. And it's definitely, a bit of a harder laning phase for Tatooine. This Aatrox doing pretty well as a counter pick into that. We have had a brief look over here in the mid lane as for the most part, it's just been a bit of a farm fest. It's been a little bit more quiet. You kind of expected this though, and once Tibble has upgraded his E, get even more wave clear. The lane gets even more uninteractive as simply, we'll take a tether.
Yeah, and this is the thing is like sometimes it can be dangerous taking a Victor into Lucian matchup because one of the big things is not just that Lucian gets prio, it's that he's safe, right? He's mobile, good to skirmishes. If there was like a heavy ganking jungler, let's say Outlandish was on Xin Zhao, I could be a bit concerned for T-Ball. But because he's into a Diana who's not really doing much before level 6, he's been kind of fine just to chill here, handle the waves, simply pushes into him, match prior a bit. And now, as you said, after that reset, he's going to feel really comfortable in this position. Now, we have actually seen KOVA went for an early swap of their bot lane up towards the top side to secure this Herald. And I like this in the sense that it's good to make a cross map when you're behind. They're being proactive. And importantly, they're denying the Herald from Galaxy Racer. But this is very costly. If we actually look towards the bot lane, they're going to be losing a ton of plates. And look at the farm difference that's opened up between the AD carries. That is monumental.
Might be actually seeing a gank coming in for Tibble, but I believe he was spotted by the minions. So Tibble able to move away from this one, but the Culling's going to do a lot of damage as he throws out the ulti.
Yeah, really nice. The ultimate actually interrupts channels. So it stops the Culling.
Oh.
Yeah, so
forget it does that.
You remember it used to silence initially, but now it just like interrupts channels. And this is a fringe occasion where it actually serves a really good purpose because he would have taken a lot more damage if he wasn't just able to stop that Culling instantly. So nice play there from T-Bor. Good defensive play, and it's the value of this Victor pick, just able to withstand the pressure. Now, we're forced into the scenario where, Tui's the one defending bot, which, he's got more sustain than Davidson, but it's not like he can really do too much to contest the wave. And in the meantime, we have Davidson on the top side farming up against an Aatrox, which is a precarious position for an Aphelios to be in, by all means.
Yeah, looks like he's not really going to be able to do too much. As Kakan's going to go for a reset. Kakan's obviously gone for the Executioner's Calling to kind of handle Tatooine and his sustain in lane. And it has bought a bit of time for Tatooine to get some free farm. Going to push a wave in and go for the reset as the True Shot Barrage actually interrupts both of their resets, so they'll be slower back onto the map.
Yeah, and I mean, in fairness, okay, the farm difference, still big, but mitigated to an extent. A lot of plays gone over to Monk, but I still think it was the correct call when you're losing that hard in the bot lane to go for that swap, pick up the Herald, deny it away from Galaxy Racer, and slow down this momentum. Because as much as I sort of gave a lot of praise to Galaxy Racer's composition, KOVA's comp in the late game does have more strength than it does in the early. So if they can lean towards that, there's a window where they can sort of perform better than they are now.
Oh,
still in potential
eats
trouble.
The kick. Jakey not going to follow.
Could have ward hopped and then followed the Q. I think maybe E auto ult probably wouldn't be enough to kill him though, so I think maybe the right call. And as well, simply has flash. So Jakey fair enough to back off in that situation. But you can see the pressure being applied right now by Galaxy Racer. Simply, you pick this Lucian because you want to have a great time in lane. You want to bully out your opponent and have him a prio. And at this point, T-Ball's really in control of the matchup.
And we saw what kind of happened earlier where KOVA rotated. It was a nice rotation to be able to pick up that Rift Herald. And the pings are going down. Looks like they want to try and use them in the top side. But crucially, 3 plates were picked up in the bot side. 1 in the mid. And Kakan, he's not even going to get caught out by this gank because of the world into movement speed. And sure, they're going to place the Herald down here. And they might be able to pick up some plates. But they have to be able to get enough plates to recuperate the gold cost on the rest of the map as Monk's be able to pick up his 4th plate bot side, and he's pretty close to securing that first tower now.
Yeah, and they are throwing down the Herald on the top side. I think Khan should be able to stop this from being a tower take. Maybe not, I guess we see. It's kind of a hard dive.
I mean,
he's proving it.
Outlandish has to flash. The Darkened Blade's doing way too much damage there.
Yeah, and at this point, Davidson doing a fair amount more damage, so he's able to clear out the wave quickly, but Jakey's threatening. And I think KOVA have to back off top, so it should be first tower bot lane for Galaxy Racer. But still, I mean, considering how bad the bot lane was going early, for them to be this close to sort of equalizing in terms of towers is pretty solid. So I have to praise KOVA for that, because bot lane was, and you know, kind of is doomed, but they're still keeping it close. But
forcing flashes with that 3rd Darkened Blade every time.
yeah, if Kakan had flash, 100% you flashed there, but I think maybe he might have been okay. But again, you want to play it safe in that scenario. Ult connects onto Monk, you have to flash out. See, Jakey could look for this, but I think he's playing a bit wary, aware that Monk's on a bit of low HP, but you can definitely see from the way KOVA's bot lane is standing, they would never position like this if they didn't have support, you know, just stepping so far up there.
So we actually seen Monk's finished up the Manamune first as his first item. I had a chat with Den Voxney about this actually a little while ago, and because when we started seeing the Divine Sunder at Israel, he was talking to me about how, you know, the reason he went Manamune in the matchup where he did it was just because it's a cheaper item power spike. You know, it's not as powerful as something like a Divine Sunder as your first item, but it is a very effective and very cheap power spike. And, you know, when you're this far ahead in lane and you've just picked up all that gold, he's spiked just that little bit quicker, and that's been necessary for him just to accelerate the lane for himself. As now moving up towards the top lane, looking to pick up a couple more plates, although it does look like the tower will be falling off. And Tatui's being hunted down by the side of Galaxy Racer. Jakey's going to come in, but they need to find some way to interrupt him. They're looking for the tether. They're waiting for him to try and jump out, but here comes Outlandish with the Moonfall onto 2, and Tatui is ripping through Monk. Kikan's made his way in as well. And look at the damage onto Outlandish. He's just going to go down as well as they turn it 2 for 1.
Yeah, Monk ended up going a little bit far forwards and was capitalized on, but you can see Galaxy Racer wanted to quickly take out the Mundo, but you can't open with a kick. That's what Jakey was going for. You know, in any other situation, you ward hop, you kick him against the wall, you kick him back, you know, you have flash as well. But because of the passive of Mundo, you can't actually do that. You can't open with the ult. So they had to wait for the tether to come in, and that gave some time for Tui to survive. And then we saw the power of the Janna just able to pop Monk there. But still a favorable play for Galaxy Racer overall.
Yeah. I mean, at least for KOVA, you know, you're kind of recruiting something. You do get yourself a little bit of gold, but realistically, a lot of damage on that tower on the top side. Jakey's going to be able to finish up the Rift Herald for himself. And we can see the fight again. It takes a lot to pop the spell shield on
They'd love to kick instantly there, but they have to wait for the tether. It's a nice ult coming out from Jakey to knock the Mundo through the Dana, but it's not enough to save, especially with Simply coming in. But the thing is, you know, they kill Monk. That's kind of all their gas in the tank. They don't really have any follow-up from there, and they have to instantly back away. The Victor right now being such a threat. Again, it's Galaxy Racer pulling ahead, and I think KOVA have done a decent job to keep things within arm's length, but the problem is they've just been at such a disadvantage from the early game that's making things quite difficult. And again, they have champions that scale well into the later stages, but I just think the way these two compositions interact make it very difficult.
Well, Tibble actually getting pulled in by the Moonfall. A lot of damage onto him. The shield from the Q will be enough as he throws out the ulti as well. He is able to survive as Tatui takes the top lane tower. So it's 1 tower apiece now. It's Monk and Wendell looking to make their way over to the mid lane to cover while their mid has been sent packing from a 3-man gank. Looks like we're seeing a bit of a return to normalcy, a bit of a return to calm here. The items are now coming in. You've got the Gore Drinker on both Jakey and Kakan. You've got the Luden's Echo finished up onto Tibor. And Monk's almost fully stacked his Manamune at this point. And Divine Sundra closing in on being completed as the Gale Force. Kraken Slayer just finished up for Simply and Davidson. It looks like Galaxy Racer are going to take this opportunity to get a little bit of damage off onto this mid lane tower. I don't think they have a big enough wave or really the damage to be able to finish it up, but they are going to get it bloody low.
Yeah, and I think the big thing as well is that they've got so much pressure mid. This is going to translate very well into the Dragon. They've already established a lot of vision in this area, quicker on their resets compared to KOVA, and KOVA only just really getting back on the map now. they have to try and contest this area, and it makes it very difficult. But they've spotted Jakey. They may be looking to pick him out in this one.
He has got Tibble with him. Yeah,
Tibble hop away. I was going to say he has Rift Herald in pocket, which is a pain for Elise in because you want to be able to ward hop. But he does have a control ward in inventory that he could have used. Wendell overstepping a bit.
Kakan jumps over the wall. He's trying to pop a bit. As there is the Moonlight Vigil from Davidson. True Shot Barrage can do a little bit of damage to Outlandish as Monk still remains untouched for the moment. The kick comes back by Jakey. Doesn't hit the Sonic Strike, and Kakan continues the chase as Davidson heavily chunked out. Nobody's going to go down yet, but the Rift Tail's summoned here in the mid lane. Galaxy Racer going to use this opportunity to move on towards that dragon. And actually look to shove the wave up here. Godmonk might be able to finish this before the charge comes down. So Galaxy Racer can hang around for one last charge from this Rift Tail to make sure to get even more damage into this tier 2 in the mid lane.
So get a fair bit of value from that. You can see the fight. You know, when Davidson can free hit like that, he does a lot of damage, but then quickly had to back away, starts getting outranged. The Ezreal starts finding a lot of value once more, and they're just going to be able to pick up that third dragon pretty easily. Mountain Soul this game, which is going to make, you know, Tibor and Godmonk even harder to take down. Those resistances, a lot of value, especially with the shielding kicking in now. With this replay, and we see initially they're engaging, perhaps not onto the optimal targets. Wendell's caught out, and they were kind of looking for Taturi, but Davidson flashes in here to go aggressive and starts pumping out damage. This is the problem, you know, you can't really afford to be flashing in on Aphelios, and he quickly has to disengage, and that's the point where he's, you know, getting harassed from a distance. Things become problematic. And those are kind of the concerns I had. 3 dragons over the Galaxy Racer, 4,000 gold lead right now. They're in a pretty comfortable position, and KOVA, they need more time.
And I don't think Galaxy Racer are looking to give them that time, as Davidson does have the I'll kill you guns, but he doesn't have the I'll kill you items or damage yet, as Jakey just kicks him into the wall, secures himself the kill.
And we're seeing a Triforce from Ezreal. Seen this a lot more since Divine Sundra got nerfed for ranged champions. Obviously, Sundra, you know, there was that heavy ability haste build. Ooh.
Oh, there's the Moonfall. I don't think he's going to be able to survive this. Does put down the stun and the slow, but he tries to flash away. Outlandish will just follow him up and secure the kill. A lot of damage coming out from that Chaos Storm, but it's not going to be able to get a kill here, though. Wendell really playing with fire. He has got Monk at his back, though.
And that's the thing, is like, this is kind of why things can be punishing for a Victor. You can be face check. You can face check a lot of champions and just be really heavily punished. But, you know, Diana had to kind of wait for a 6 before she could really do that. So that's why we saw such a lack of pressure around the mid-jungle matchup. You know, normally with a Lucian, you'd want to see a lot of proactivity. But Diana not really enabling that till later on. But now is the windows where you can start to pick people up. You can start to find that big damage. And I mean, speaking of big damage...
I mean, what is that? It just added 2 Qs.
Yeah, I mean... People think about a Divine Sundra build, but, you know, it's dealing a lot less damage than a Triforce against squishy targets. And
yeah. Oh, Outlandish, you're being hunted.
He's dead.
They've got the knockups. He's going to try and ping out, but Kakan will find him with one last Darkened Blade. As Tatui eats a kick from Jakey, but they don't have any CC to pop his spell shield, so he'll be A-okay.
It's just Galaxy Racer kind of wandering around in the jungle, not really respecting the fact that, KOVA wandering around the jungle, not respecting the fact that Galaxy Racer are so far pushed up. There's no reason for them to be bot lane right now. You know, they'll be able to catch any waves later, but for now, they're just applying so much pressure in these 2 lanes, the mid and top. They will retreat away. They'll answer that bot lane. Actually, not even answer it. They'll move with it because it's pushing in their favor as well, and steal away a bunch of camps from the jungle. So super comfortable right now for Galaxy Racer, and they're able to reset well in advance of the next Dragon Spawn, and that's when they can move their pressure to the other side and start setting up for the Dragon Soul. 2 minutes to go, so a lot of time really to do this, but it gives them ample opportunity to collect the jungle camps. There's red buff available, push the waves in, and really set up for this.
It's going to be a very early soul as well, and, you know, with the Gold League this big, I just don't think they're going to have what it takes. I love this recall. I absolutely love this recall. And have you seen his speedy animation? There he is in the car. Oh, it's so good.
He's living his best life.
He really is.
He looks so jovial, that bounce in his step.
It's just such a good skin. Welcome to the Mundo Appreciation stream. We had this on the UKLC the other day, actually. It was the same skin.
Every
I think
stream, the Mundo
we
appreciates
spent
the
the
stream.
entire game watching Dr. Mundo just walk around the map. It was amazing.
Sounds pretty good.
Great champion. Actually seeing a bit of a difference in build from what we saw from Kerberos yesterday. You hit on this yesterday. You said, you know, the Frozen Fist is the cheaper item, so it's a quick spike, but the bigger spike is the Sunfire Cape.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you're not going towards, there's options, you know. If you have Gauntlet, you kind of want Titanic Hydra, so you have some damage, but you can go like for a more defensive build. You just have less damage output. Sunfire really gives you that damage. And I guess the Thornmail is decent until this healing, but you don't really have as much HP as some other builds. Like KOVA's build yesterday had a ton of HP and got a lot of value from it. So, especially when you're up against the Victor, this Mundo's not really going to hold up so well.
Jakey just getting a bunch of damage into Tatooine, jumping out before the Calibrum shot hits him. Skakan's jumped in onto the back line. Just a bit of damage to Outlandish. They finally knock off the Mundo shield, so can finally get a bit of damage into him as Monk is jumping onto Outlandish. Outlandish trying to find a turnaround, but it's just not going to be enough. Galaxy Racer picked himself up 2 kills like that.
Yeah, I like how Jakey went for the kick flash. Didn't even need it. He's got obliterated. It just disappeared. And, you know, KOVA caught a little bit sleeping there. But you see Galaxy Racer recall plenty in time for this dragon. Pushed aggressively in the jungle. They'd kind of dealt with their top waves, so there's no reason to even have any members there. And they're so confident to be aggressive in this scenario. There's a massive gold lead. And
Wendell,
they're just pushing up mid. They've got 4 members here, and they're still taking the Dragon Soul at the same time. Super confident right now.
Dragon Soul secured for the side of Galaxy Racer. They don't take the inhibitor, but they do take the inhib. As we'll just see this replay again. It was, you know, forcing Outlandish away, and then Monk kind of just going 1v2 while Outlandish unable to find the assassination off onto him.
Yeah, and the Mundo is just taking so much damage. I mean, Pippy Tibor, when he starts connecting with them, shreds them. And then here, I mean, that ult just absolutely deletes the Aphelios. Didn't need the flash. He just dies. And that's the problem. When you're not connected with your Lulu, you don't have nearly the same level of survivability. And this goal discrepancy just means Galaxy Racer absolutely massacre anyone they can hit.
Gold graph on your screen. It's pretty one-sided. It kind of tells the tale as the kick comes in from Jakey. Tiara will be forced away. The True Shot Barrage will clip. And oh my lord, that's a lot of damage. Kakan tries to follow up, but the Wild Grove comes down. They've got the Gravitum to lock him in place as Wendell lands a slow to Davidson. Galaxy Racer continuing their chase, continuing their onslaught as the Infernal Chains pull him into Jakey's waiting arm. To Tatooine will be cut through as Galaxy Racer find themselves their 2nd kill here. It's Outlandish who's next up, and Wendell will be able to survive. Jakey unstoppable, and Monk taken out simply in the meanwhile as the inhibitor will fall. And it looks like that could just be very well the game here for the side of Galaxy Racer.
Yeah, I mean, that's it over.
Remains.
And I think this is kind of the expected outcome. Galaxy Racer have really been on form on KOVA, struggling a lot during the split, but there's still quite a few things to talk about. I think ultimately, Draft kind of let KOVA down a little bit in this situation. The bot lane matchup was very rough, as we saw, and then Dana really couldn't do anything on the top side to kind of mitigate that. Wasn't in a position to defend on the bot side, so we saw bot lane just brutalized. Now, I even feel like some correct decisions were made by KOVA to try and mitigate the pressure. The swap when they went for the Herald was a smart play.
Yep.
But ultimately, they've really struggled to get back into the game. And again, you know, their team needed the enemy team to funnel into them. They wanted the AD carries just a free hit. They wanted a front to back, but there was no reason for Galaxy Racer to ever go in that scenario. They could just decimate from a distance. They don't have to dive the Aphelios. They don't even have to deal with him unless he's exposed, and they often did deal with him when he was isolated.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, they just got a hold on that game very quickly, and KOVA just didn't get the opportunity to ever come back into it. It was a brilliant game from the side of Galaxy Racer, but for now, it's time for us to throw to a break, and when we're back, we'll have the analyst there to talk a little bit more about that game, so we'll see you in a moment.